salir en televisión, todo el mundo te va a ver.
¿Todo bien?
Estamos empezando a trabajar.
Cuando tenga que salir.
Ya sé. No, es mi culpa que estés así.
Lo descompensaría. Es como si quisieras meter una...
So basically, the series is called Tengo, todas las noches. The English translations for that will be I have to every night. It follows a young man that arrives in Mexico City in the 1980s to study journalism, eager to discover the world and live freely. In an iconic bar, he discovers a melting pot of unique and diverse characters who will become part of his chosen family. But before we get into details and discuss, the relationship between Gloria and Aida, please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts down below in the comments if you watch the series and what is your personal opinion on it. Just to make things clear, this is a Mexican series that was released in 2024, if I'm not mistaken. So this is definitely one of the series that I wanted to watch for a really, really, really long time. But, I just, got lost in it and I didn't, I kind of just forgot about its existence until recently, when I saw them and I was like, let me go check it out since I've never gotten the opportunity to actually watch it. And to be honest, I really did enjoy, the story between Aida and Gloria because they have a very, very important story on the show. It's not that couple that, just comes and goes. It's actually a couple with a real plot, a real story, and they get a lot of camera time together. We can see the progress of their whole relationship, which just makes it even better to watch the show. So we will be breaking down every single detail regarding their relationship and, also the finale on how things basically ended between this couple because, like I said, it is truly, truly amazing. And this show is very queer. Like, I have to put it out there, very, very, very much queer. So let's start off with the character breakdown. So first we're gonna start off with Aida. Aida, she is a singer that is facing immense pressure, when it comes to career as a singer because she wants to put out a new project but she doesn't have no sponsors, and she's also under a lot of pressure to hide her orientation to save her career. On the other hand, obviously, we have Gloria. Gloria is, Aida's partner and also her manager that is trying everything to try to keep her career going, in this case, Aida's career going, while also battling her own alcohol problems. So they are basically battling different situations because, they are in a relationship and they also work with each other. In this case, Gloria is Aida's manager and is also her longtime girlfriend. So, things can get very complicated, but the relationship faces a true challenge when, Aida decides to go on her own and go find her own projects, basically working with a recording company that, Gloria wasn't happy. She was like, no, I don't want you to work with these people because you know what these people stand for. But Aida was so determined to make it, in the career when it comes to this new project and as a musician that she didn't care really what Gloria had to say. But obviously Gloria could also not do much because she knew she was also in a position where she could also not, do anything at that point for Aida to save her career, even though she was trying everything that she could. Obviously, things don't end up going as planned. Aida goes her own way. She changes management, but they still decide to be in a relationship, even though at that point, they were battling, their own situations. They just couldn't see eye to eye. They were arguing. They were spending a lot of time apart. And things just get a little bit more complicated when Anna, a fan of Aida that have frequent encounters with her at the bathroom of a club that they used to go to a lot, they start, creating this low-key bond. So you can see that the fan, in this case, Anna, she was very determined, to get close to Aida. Obviously, at the beginning, Aida wasn't like giving her any chance because she was respecting her relationship. But later on, when, Aida and Gloria started to face their problems and going through their situations, the fan, in this case, Anna, she was very determined to get closer to Aida. And that's exactly what happened. They got super close to one another and obviously they end up hooking up. And the moment they start hooking up, they just kept hooking up low key. I will say that, Aida cheated, but, it is what it is. Other people will have, a different point of view regarding the situation. Obviously, at that point, you can see that Aida and Gloria, they have parted ways on a professional level. Gloria, she was going through a lot also with, her adopted son, I could say, quote unquote. And also, she was also trying to get herself cleaned up because of, the alcohol problem that she has. And also losing Gloria, I saw in this case, losing Aida, sleeping with people she didn't want to sleep with. She was just going through a lot, and Aida has decided to part ways with her. And also, she started to hook up more occasionally with Anna, spending more time with Anna. So at that point, they were just not together, and, they were not romantically involved anymore. But obviously, that didn't last very long because as they spend more time apart, as they get into these arguments, you guys have to understand they also have a circle of friends that are very close to one another, and they are very much, involved in each other's lives. So it's very hard for them to stay away from one another. Ida, she went on her career, everything was going well with the recording label, even though they told her to hide her orientation, and they even make a fake relationship for her to date a man to clean up her image because of a previous situation that happened. She ends up accepting it, but later on the record label just started to get a little bit more demanding, and this when Ida knew it was time for her to step out of it and, try to go get back the person who she wants to be with, and which is Gloria, because she actually ends up realizing that she's gonna sell everything that she believes, mentally, physically, emotionally, to put her career first. But she also ends up realizing that that will not make her happy. Also, she was hooking up with Anna, but Anna realized that she's not over Gloria, and Anna just sort of like, I get it, over your ex, I'm not gonna force you to be over anybody you're not. So it was kind of clear to say that between them two, it was just a hookup, it was just a rebound situation. Obviously later on, you can just see the path of Gloria cleaning herself up, trying to do better professionally, being there for her son. And like I said, they're not like her biological son or adopted son. They actually show how he became like a close son, in this case, to her. While he's battling his own battles, she was also trying to clean herself up to maybe, gain Ida back. And it actually ends up working out for her because you can see that, after she got better, Ida could see a different perspective of her because, you can see the Gloria shrinking problem definitely did affect their relationship as well. For the fact that now that she's clean, she's doing better, she's more focused, she's more concentrated, Ida could see a positive change in her as well. So that also allowed her to maybe, put herself in a better position to rekindle their relationship. So Ida, she ends up recording this very, very big song, and obviously she ends up dedicating it to Gloria at the bar. And there was the moment that Gloria actually ends up realizing that her story between her and Ida is not over yet, and that maybe there is a second chance to love. And after the performance, you can just see Ida, going down and, making up, telling, in this case, Gloria, you are the person, it's me and you, let's focus on what we have going on. And they basically just rekindle everything. So I'm very happy that, in this case, Ida could clear things up with Anna, so also not to tangle her emotions along the way, so that they can also understand that, hey, I still have feelings for my ex, but, me and you, we are here, so that there is no confusion. So that was also very nice. So more of the story, the couple have a happy ending. They could fix their battles. They could, have time apart to basically, figure themselves out, because it was getting to a point where they were kind of suffocating each other, working together, living together, and also being in a relationship. It was a lot. So maybe like I can clearly see that time apart, well, they were trying to figure themselves out, either in a professional matter, Gloria, when it comes to her own personal battles, and later on coming together and, making their relationship work and understanding that the differences, but still deciding to be together. That is so beautiful. Go watch the series. It is available to watch on Prime Video. Thank you so much for all the support. Until the next video, and goodbye.